Okay. All right. Just to start off, I want to say that I could not find my name tag this morning. So we moved a couple times last year. I had a really rocky last year, and I couldn't find it last night. I couldn't find it last week. I need to order another one. So as I was driving here, I thought, you know what? That's an okay visual, because when I stand before you today, I do not want to come across as this perfect woman who has it all together and does every single thing I'm about to teach you, because that is not true. I try, and I've implemented a lot of things, raising 8 kids and being the oldest of 9 kids when I was growing up. I felt like I had great training, and I put those things to, test them, and I found a lot of things that work and things that don't work. And so without my name tag, I just want you to know that my car needs an oil change. It's really dirty. It needs to be completely detailed. And I do not have all of these things perfectly implemented, but I really enjoy when I can get them to make my life a little easier and run more smoothly every day. So with that, I'm going to try and turn on the fire hose and throw all kinds of fun information at you. Oh, and for sure I want to have fun today too, so let's do that. Okay. So don't you love it when your clients text you and call you? It's such a happy day, and they're like, we're ready for the photographer. And then you go, and this is what you see, right? So, I mean, this is an extreme, but it does happen, right? Yes.
Do I take a picture of the ceiling?
Right, like I can't really, it doesn't matter which way I angle my camera or the photographer tries so hard. I've even swept things in bedrooms completely to the side, and said, okay, just take the corner of this picture of the corner of the room, right? Mm-hmm. So it's hard to say, actually, you're not, I'm gonna have to reschedule the photographer, which it's worth it, because we're gonna talk about all the things that you can do to make the home bring in more money and have a buyer fall in love with it, instead of turn around and not even want to look at the rest of the house because of how cluttered it is. So a lot of homes sell for a lot more money when we take the effort to stage them and to declutter them. And it is possible to do a lot of those things on a smaller budget. So if you're just starting out, or if your clients are going through a divorce and I have been dealing with this for quite a couple of months now with clients who just don't have extra funds, cash sitting around, and they're like, the idea of staging just scares them to death because they don't even know how they're going to buy groceries, and so they're like, that's so frivolous, we can't do that. But you can do a lot of things without spending a lot of money and using things they already have or borrowing from family, that kind of thing. Vacant homes really benefit from staging, and you don't have to do a lot. Again, we've all walked vacant homes where an agent's just hung a nice little dish towel in the kitchen and put some throw rugs and put some cute plants and some things in bathrooms, and it makes that space feel so much more inviting, right? And they can visualize themselves living there and moving in. Being an agent, you definitely don't have to be perfect at this, but I think it's a really good idea to spend some time understanding what looks good. Most of us can walk into a property and be like, oh, this living room is so inviting, and you literally want to sit down in the couch, right? Or just kind of hang out. And that's the feeling we're trying to invoke in buyers, is that they want to be in this space and they want to buy this house. So I always take my client and suggest you do the same and start at the front door, literally at the front of the sidewalk, like at the street, because that's where your buyers are going to start their journey, right? So get out of the car and you're going to walk the home with your client as a potential buyer. And I suggest opening cabinets and everything so that you kind of see it from the eyes of the buyer. So here's a couple pictures. What are some things you see that are not going to work? Just call them out.
Christmas lights.
Thank you. I tried really hard to find pictures. These are like real things that I went through my thousands of pictures on my phone that I've taken over the years. And so these are trying to find things, right? So Christmas lights. It's really hard to tell in this photo, but this is like a dead mouse right there.
Oh,
so,
say the dead rodent.
Right. And the peeling paint is on both of those examples, right? There's nothing like The mat says welcome, but it's really old and gross, and there were dead rodents all over this front yard. So there's nothing about either one of these properties that say, oh, please open my door and come in. Okay, so the front porch and the exterior, we want to say, please welcome, come in. We can't wait to invite you into our home. So we're going more for this look, right? For more of a comfortable, I can't wait to invite you in. And in the entryway, it's nice to have a seat or a bench so that especially older buyers can sit down and put on the shoe covers or remove their shoes. A lot of the times they're hopping around, trying to get those things on, and it's nice to have a little place to sit. And again, just a nice, happy place, right? Entryway is important. I suggest that a professional cleaning company is lined up to help these clients. You can pay for it, they can pay for it, or they can do it themselves. But if it's in really bad need, I've worked with some hoarder homes. A professional company is a lifesaver, and it makes a huge difference once you've decluttered. I'm saying this at the beginning because those companies are not going to be able, more than likely, to come the very next day. You can't expect them to show up within 24 hours. So I'm bringing this up at the beginning because you need to get on their schedule. They are typically booked out weeks in advance. So that's why I say get that set up at the front.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
I have clients who had a vacuum, they had lived there for years, and they had never vacuumed, and there was clutter in every room, and she felt comfortable and refused to let anyone touch it. I couldn't even scooch it to the side, and the pictures online, I had to, for MLS, I had to post pictures. But it was almost a liability, like.
So did she live by herself?
No.
Oh, okay. So if I hear you correctly, she was not willing to work with you in your suggestions to move things.
She said the clutter made her feel comfortable.
And that is very real for people who live like that. Yeah.
Anything she would panic. So I just.
That's an extreme situation. Obviously, thankfully we don't have to deal with that every day.
You just post pictures. I just posted pictures the way it was, and it sold. But
well, I was just gonna say, what was the end of your story? That's what I was really curious. So yours had a happy ending. That's great.
Well, I was just like, hey, look at the ceiling.
There are a couple of things we can do in that instance. If the home has been listed before, I've reached out to that previous agent and gotten permission to use their photos if the space hasn't changed very much. Typically, in a situation like that, when I just say hoarders because that falls into that category in my brain, you literally are walking through their home like this because the stacks of boxes and bins are so high, and you can't see how big a room is. You can't see the expanse of the walls and anything about it. So that's one thing I've done, is reach to a previous listing agent and gotten permission to use their photos. Another thing is to have a floor plan. Like I put a floor plan up as well, so that at least a buyer can say, oh, okay, the front door, you walk in, and even though they can't really see it when they go see the house, that helps them kind of know measurements for the room. And then just do the best you can. I had one really extreme situation where I ended up calling in like a professional psychologist, even though I put on my psychology hat a lot. It was just above and beyond my experience. And so I had somebody come in and work with them. And it was like a year of working through, helping the family coming in and helping. And the homeowner needed to actually be moved into assisted living in that situation. So it was a very long process. But then once we were able to get her in a better situation, we could get the house looking better. So that's a tough one.
I like the floor plan.
That's good. I'm glad that helps, and I'm glad you had a happy ending. So we talk about surfaces a lot, wanting them completely cleared off, and it doesn't look sterile to me. We're talking about all the clutter that we have on our kitchen counters and our bathroom counters and things like that. And so I just put here how important it is to discuss with your clients that this is a pre-packing step. Think about, you're getting ahead of your packing. You're going to get 50% of it done. So it's time, this is the time. If you get into that home and they're not going to list for months anyway, say you have a listing appointment during the winter months, they have months that it's snowing outside, it's cold, nobody wants to do anything. They can turn on a Hallmark movie or during sports or whatever, and they can sort door by drawer, closet by closet, and declutter, donate the things they don't need, and then they're not packing up trash and unnecessary items and moving it to the next move anyway. So there's so many pluses about getting on top of this. And then try and store those items in the garage, box them up, label them. I can't emphasize labeling enough, and then put them neatly somewhere where they're not going to be in the way for the photographer and for potential buyers. And pets is a whole separate class. We know once you open that door, you can smell the cat pee, you can smell dogs. It's so important to remove them from the property if possible, or work with your clients and set up a schedule and say, okay, you work from home on Tuesdays. Well, we're going to market your home that we can schedule showings all day Tuesday because you can come and go and take them for a walk. And on the weekends, you know what, why don't you go visit family this weekend? I'll hold 3 open houses in a row and take those fur babies and go on a vacation or something. So there are ways that we can work with our clients and get those carpets professionally cleaned too. Oftentimes I have even had to change the carpet pad and put new carpet in to get rid of the smell and new paint, because if they've been there for 20 years, same thing with like cigarette smoke, you just got to get that stuff out and remodel in order to make it show ready.
You have a question?
Yes.
I was going to say, one of the classes that I was in for getting the home ready to sell, they said that they had gone in and cleaned the carpets and everything. They just couldn't get rid of the smell.
Mm-hmm.
They found out later that the animals had been peeing in the vents.
So that's a good, I didn't put that in there, yeah. So the HVAC system often needs a good cleaning too. So yeah, just add that, you got one more expense. Yes.
So this listing that I have right now, he has 4 dogs. And
I am sorry.
I have a similar situation. They are in the house all the time that he is home.
Yeah.
And he does a good job of getting the house ready to show when we show it. He does do a really good job. But I did notice that his central vacuum, all of the tools for his central vacuum are right as you're walking down into the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And the smell from the vacuum itself, with all of the dog stuff, is where most of that smell comes from. So I've asked him to kind of move that out into the garage so that, because
that's great, because you don't want that.
It's horrible.
Right there in the house, right?
And he's a neighbor, so every once in a while I go in with my Lysol pet smell remover spray before showing if I'm home, and do a quick spray through the house.
Yes, thankfully we have all those smell goods, right, that we can put into a home with the essential oils and the candles and liquid and everything.
This situation, I have them soaked with Gain detergent or Tide, a little sponge, and then I would put it in the vent.
Mm-hmm.
When it would kick on, it would actually have a nice smell, because these were chain smokers.
There's so many tricks like that we have, thankfully, because we want to get rid of all the bad smells. Yes, Chris?
I have them change the furnace filter like every 2 weeks instead of every month, and then keep the fan on all the time on the furnace.
Because that helps.
Because it blows the smells and puts it in the filter, and then when you take it out, it really helps with the smell.
Yeah, good tricks. Thank you for the
And
suggestions.
take your pets for a walk when there's a showing.
Yeah, there's just nothing more unnerving than the dog that barks the entire time you're there, right? Even if they're in the basement in a crate. So for sure. So this is obviously not what we're going for, but what I've walked into before.
Wow.
So even the top of piano, this is just a before and after picture of a client that I worked with. So every surface was like this. Like, we all have our knickknacks and things that mean so much to us, but when we're trying to sell, let's just clear off the surface. And then this is what it looked like after she had done what I asked her to do. And it just, when the photographer was there, everything looked a lot better.
And Steve said like 1 or 2 appliances on the counter. That's it.
That's all you need. Yep. Put those appliances away in the garage, appliance garage. Put them in the pantry, wherever you can.
I was going to ask, if it's something somebody's using every day, do you have them take it and put it in a cupboard or something and just pull it out every day, or just leave it out on the counter? Like blenders, toasters.
Every single situation I look at is new. Like, these are guidelines But honestly, I walk into a property and work with a family in there, and you guys can agree, I'm sure, not one is the same. They're all so different, right? So if someone's like, I have to have my coffee every morning, like I want it right here, and they have the whole thing set up like a coffee bar, you know, work with it, right? But like if it's, I will ask specifically, I'm like, okay, how often do you use this toaster oven that takes up half your counter here? I want a buyer to see how long that counter is, right? And so you just, I walk through it with them. They tell me how often they use it, and then I look around, say, oh, well, there's a shelf over here in your pantry that's not being used, or back behind your butler's pantry, or like, I just help them solve the problem. And most of the time, to be honest, I'm listening to them think it through, and they will come up with a solution. And that's one of the best items of advice I can give you, is that I don't live their life. I don't live in their space. I don't live with their 4 dogs. But if I present something and say, this is so important, this is going to make a difference of how much more money I can make for you on the sale of this house, they'll usually listen to you. And they, like I said, they usually have a solution. So when I'm kind of broke it up by room, so this is our living room, family room. I deal with vacant homes as well as people that occupy them, and I've ended up specializing more in homes that are being occupied. So one of the hardest things to do is use the furniture they currently have, but by all means, do it if you can. Put a slipcover over the ugly sofa, or cover it with a throw if there's a place where the dog ripped it or something. And arrange things in groupings, and we're going to talk more about that. Remove furniture if the dog has chewed off a leg. I mean, I was just in a house where one of the legs of the chair, like the chair was sitting on a slant because the dog had chewed the leg. Get the chair out. I don't care if it's 8 chairs around the dining room and then you'll only have 7. Well, then just put 6 chairs around. You know, put the other ones in the garage. So I just feel like there's things that will make a huge difference like that, but people just live around it, right? If it's there in your house, you just get used to it. So help them understand the importance of getting rid of the things that show the wear and tear and that just are not meeting our goal of making it a show-ready home. Always use plants if you can. Some of the luxury high-end homes use live plants. They pay for a company to bring in and put the live plants, and that's great. But most of the time in our everyday real estate lives, the fake plants are great. Always put them in a pot or a basket though. Don't just have them sitting by themselves without something that's anchoring them. You can use lamps all day long that help provide lighting as well as make the area feel, you know, inviting. Have you seen the fireplaces now where you can you can put a picture on there? Yeah. So that's a really good idea, instead of it being like just your TV, I meant above your fireplace, like your TV just being this big black blob in your photos, you can put a nice picture. It looks like a framed picture. So that's fun to do these days now that we have the opportunity to do that. Here's a before and after. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but you'll just a couple things to notice. Like we have a mirror here. Mirrors are always a good idea. Why? Why does it look good? Makes it lighter and it opens up the space, right? We've got the green. See how the green live plants pop here? You can't see all of them, but green, those plants just always pop. And again, this is a difference I wanted to show you between a photo taken with your phone and then a professional photo. Mm-hmm. So that's why our phones are great. They can do so many things, but do a professional photographer, okay?
I have a question about plants.
Yes.
Should you put plants on carpeted areas or just on like wood or tile? Like if they're real plants?
If it's a live plant, my mind always goes, I don't want to get that rug wet.
Right.
Especially if it's not mine, you know, it's theirs. It's my idea to put one there. So I'm really conscientious with live plants to at least have something like that plastic, something under there, or put them on wheels, you know, and with the base that helps protect them. So typically I usually only put the fake, but that's just because I don't want to be liable for that rug, right? And now that brings us right into these creating groupings. So one of the biggest faux pas I see with staging, or just when I walk into a home, is that somebody has a really small, teeny tiny rug in front of like a gigantic sectional or something. And so there are some rules that we follow in the design world just because it looks better, right? And we can't always say why, but it's just because it looks better. So when you have a living room area, I can't talk fast enough, you want to have a large enough rug that at least the front feet of all furniture, the chairs and your sofas, are on the rug. So sometimes that means a 9x12 rug, okay? Because you've got these huge pieces of furniture. Also, it's cracked me up when people have a couch and then the coffee table is like way far away. So you want it realistic. If a buyer sits down in the couch, which they do sit on staged furniture, you want to think that if they have a drink, they could at least put it on a side table or like reach out and touch the coffee table or put your feet up on the table. Not that they would do that, but we're creating a space that's real, not fake. I love, like I said, the lamps, but make sure they're in a basket so they're not floating or alone, and put them in groupings. So I've walked into houses before and it's like potted plants, just like all along, the kitchen counter in a row. It makes no sense. Like, think about people. We like to be in groups. We don't want to be alone. So you don't want these staging items just randomly on a shelf, just one by itself or like lined up in a line. Think about when you're staging that we want to create groupings.
The 369 rule.
That hang out together, right? Yeah, any of those numbers that you've heard from design books or shows that you've watched. Another thing that's annoying is the art. I don't know why people hang art so high or mirrors. Why? Drives me crazy. And it does depend on the height of the person. I get that. If you ask, a 6'5" man to hang something eye level, it's going to obviously be.
Because my husband hangs it clear up there.
It's true. It just drives me crazy. So it's supposed to be eye level at 60 to 62 inches from the ground. So too many times they're just so much higher. Mirrors are kind of the same. And you want them to be just about 2 to 4 inches above beds too, or sofas. That's just how you do it. So above the headboard, it just looks better. Also remember that large pieces of furniture always work. Like if you're trying to decide, if you're helping a client decide what to purchase for a space, a teeny tiny like IKEA couch in a gigantic bonus area, family gathering area, is going to look swallowed up in that room. Bigger, bulkier pieces of furniture will always work better, especially in the larger spaces. We like uneven groupings. I don't know why. People ask me this all the time. I'm sure there's a reason if I had enough time to look it up, but I learned this a long time ago. So I'm just always doing things in odd numbers, or you can do the 369 or the 357. It's just try and keep them in groupings. It's not the number that's the most important. It's the grouping idea. And I'm going to teach you this. This is a coffee table hack. It's one of my favorite things because you just can't fail at it. If you walk away with anything today, remember the triangle hack. So do you see how there's a height here at the top? We have this nice, and it's green. It's a plant, right? If that makes us happy, it's going to pop in the photos. And then we have down here different heights. Books are always great because they anchor the items, and then you can put a candle and some decor that fall down and kind of follow this slant here. So it's happy, it's pleasing to the eye, it works every time. You can't go wrong on bookshelves with that or on a nightstand. Nightstands, why? Because you have the lamp, right, that brings the height, and then you have the smaller things that can be next to it. So there's a hack for you today. This was a home I recently staged, and so I pulled this up. Can you see the triangle on the coffee table there? Okay. And then we've got the pillows, and it might not be your colors, but this was a very gray, drab home. Everything was gray. The paint was gray, the floors were gray, everything, the countertops. So I needed to add a pop of color in there. It was a bachelor pad, and so we just were trying to make it a happy place. Okay, this is what we're going for here. Again, can you see the V there? Okay. People will often ask me, well, what color? They don't know where to start when they're staging or when they're getting their home ready. And so they want to know, what color do I use? And I'm like, pick a favorite color, right? But if you are in doubt, blue will always work. I read an article years ago, and I can't find it because it's been probably a decade, but It talked about how blue for an exterior paint color of a house, you can never go wrong because blue houses sell faster than other colored homes. I don't know if it's different in today's world, but I just don't think you can go wrong with blue. Good job, high five.
What color blue is it, navy or?
So,
Gray blue?
like a gray or blue. Gray is gone, right?
Yeah.
We all know that. So gray was just overused. I had agreeable gray in my house 12 years ago. But like if you're working with your clients, I just got a client messaged me last week and she's like, we're repainting our whole house, so I want to do agreeable gray. And I was like, please no. And so I sent her a bunch of options. And I looked up that text too to write it. So these are my suggestions. Sherwin-Williams creamy, aged white, neutral ground, canvas tan, something in those worlds, okay? We're more in the gray and not gray, but the taupey, tan, ivory world, okay? So anything that's very, very neutral. And some of those colors, you can even pull gray. Like if you have a gray couch or you have gray accessories, you can still live in that world. But it's a really nice contrast to have the warmer colors.
Gray is gone.
Yeah, gray is gone, I'm sorry. Okay, let's jump to the kitchen. Most of our homeowners and ourselves live in our kitchens, right? We're preparing meals, we're celebrating holidays, birthdays, that kind of thing. And next to bathrooms, we know as agents that that's where we put most of our money when we're building a house or renovating a house. And so when we're getting a kitchen ready to be show ready, there's so many things that are important to do. Start with removing the fridge, everything off the fridge, the magnets, everything that the kids have decorated, and colored. Clean behind the stove. When they do the home inspection, they're good, sometimes that stove gets pulled out. It's disgusting. Clean out appliances that stay on the counter. If they have to have that appliance, I always tell them you can choose two things that you use every day that stay out. And if you can't, place it under the sink or someplace for showings, but that's what I try and get them to do. And then you can have a cute little fruit bowl or some flowers or whatever that they like, or I sometimes will supplement and bring things too. I suggest that they go through, again, this is your pre-packing stage. Yay, get ahead of packing, right? Pick their one set of dishes that actually match, that don't have broken handles or whatever, maybe a cute color or just neutral. White is great. Can't go wrong with white dishes. And keep that in where they keep their plates so that when a buyer opens the cabinets, they can see the stack of plates, the bowls. It's just a breath of fresh air, right? And a buyer, every positive experience or moment that you can create for a potential buyer is only going to help you get more money for that house. It sounds silly, but all these little details add up and make a huge difference at the end of the day. So then, of course, clean the outside, the inside of the cabinets, the backsplashes, get all that grease off there from the baking and cooking they've done. And again, if we need paint is always, you can't go wrong with fresh paint. Clean and organize the pantry. When I get to closets, my kind of thing is 50-50. Get half that stuff out of there because they're like, well, I don't know what to keep. I don't know what to pack. So say, you know what, we're looking at a full closet. And as a buyer, I need to see how deep that closet is. I need to see the floor. So don't put anything on the floor. A buyer needs to see the floor and the back of the closet and the top to be able to get a feel of how big it is. If there's only half the space being used with things, they're going to think that closet's pretty big. But if that closet is stuffed full with things and things fall out on them, they're going to be like, this closet is so small. So we can do a lot to make a small space feel bigger than it really is. Remember to keep heavy things on the bottom and lightweight things on the top, because if those lightweight things fall, they're not going to hurt somebody. I also try and tell clients to empty trash cans or not have them visual at all. A lot of the times they're right there in the kitchen, they can't fit anywhere, so I just tuck it in the garage, right outside the garage door. And I ask them to before showings as well.
You put what in the garage?
The trash can.
Oh, just don't leave it out.
Yeah, just don't leave it out. Like if it doesn't fit under the sink or if it doesn't have a place, one of those fancy trash drawers, just don't have it in the kitchen. We try not to have it in pictures. Like our our photographers will move it for us, or we can, but I just always tuck it away out for showings because sometimes it stinks. Dining tables, when we stage them these days, believe it or not, are way more simple than they used to be. If you're dealing with a $3 million home, you might see a formal dining room set with the silverware or the glasses or whatever. But today, keep it simple. The old school full place setting is out. And same with the bar. Don't set the bar. Just these days, you'll see like a plate with a little cacti or something, or you'll see cute little things on the bar instead of like an actual place setting. Okay, this is a before and after, like I was talking about, removing everything, because this is realistic. This is what our homes look like now, right? So this is what we're going for. And see how there's just a couple of things, like here she used her salt and pepper every day and her cooking things, and so that's what she chose to keep on the counter. This is one of those air freshener things. So
What's the brown thing?
and you can't, this is a cutting board. And you couldn't see, but we had some on the other side by the dishwasher. We had cute kitchen towels hidden. So this is just an example of what she got rid of. Her mixer in the corner there. And this is after she's like, okay, I'm ready. This is the best I can do.
She thought that was ready?
Yeah. So I just took it one step further. She actually did a lot, because the first time I walked through the home, I couldn't see the counter. So this was great progress. I'm super happy to walk into this. And it didn't take that long to get to this.
So she took everything off the refrigerator.
Because I said, let's just take it off. And she was okay
It
with that.
looks much bigger and cleaner when it's.
That's why we do it, huh? And even her son helped take it. I was like, can you come and help me take these off? These look so fun.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, it gets rid of their personal stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes it so
Right.
that people can imagine themselves.
Exactly.
Know what they're looking at somebody else's house.
Right.
It's so true. And that's why we suggest taking down the religious or the political or the personal things, because we need that buyer to be able to envision themselves in the space.
So I did have the opposite thing happen once. I was showing a house, and the buyer fell in love with the house because they had their family picture still up in the main area, and she said, this is such a family house, and I can see that they're a family, and this is why I want my house. I've had that happen too.
Oh,
I have too. And especially here in Utah, there are houses that have 45 family pictures,
Yes.
right? I'm not exaggerating. And so to have one left above the fireplace, I'm okay with that. I call that a success. If I can get all the rest of them, you know what I mean? Or most of them, I'm fine with a family picture staying up there. Like,
But
I'm gonna
most
be
are
okay
like
with that.
this.
Yeah, and it's
Most
true.
family walls.
Most of them are it's just too much, and it's hindering what we're trying to do as agents, right? To help the buyers feel welcome there. So yeah, one family picture I'm okay with. And sometimes it does work in our favor. So here again are just some examples of simple ways that you can stage the kitchen. And again, like I talked about, we're creating little family groupings. We're not lining things up like they're in the military, okay? And dining areas are more simple now. Like I said, just not as much going on. Here's an example of just some different ways to do runners, and then just some simple greenery does the trick every time. Let's move to bedrooms. Okay, we've already talked about clothes. It's really helpful, but it takes time, if you can convince them or help them switch out all their hangers to matching hangers. It makes such a huge difference, but it's a big task. But it's something you can suggest as a professional. And at the same time they're doing that, pack. If it's summer, they're not going to need all the winter stuff. Pack it up, label it, put it in the garage, or store it somewhere else. We know to tell them to put their valuables, guns, jewelry, things in a safe spot. We don't want that out. There are oftentimes spaces where we've had situations where children have moved out of the home, or there's empty rooms, right? You can repurpose them. It doesn't take that much time to put a very simple desk and a chair and a plant and something, call it a home office or something. So you can help the client. I just talk them through what they have already. And a lot of the times they'll have exercise equipment that they use in the garage or have in the past, and we just pull it in and create a room, make it look like an exercise room. So there's a lot of things you can do to make use of empty spaces. I try and get people to remove televisions if they're not going to leave them for the sale of the home. Because a lot of the times, you know, buyers are like, oh, can I have that TV or whatever? But that's just my suggestion. But all the like cords and the posters in the kids' room and all the extra stuff, it's just better to get it out if you can ahead of time. And then you're showing the buyer, this is what your home's going to look like when you move in. Of course, there are extenuating circumstances where we say, this TV and the mount will not be here. The seller has chosen to remove it and fill the holes and repaint. So just talk those things out with your seller and come up with a game plan. As long as you're on the same page, are you leaving the drapes or not? You know, it doesn't matter, just as long as you know, so you can carry that through all the way to the end of the transaction and relay it properly to the buyer's agent.
Plus, I think it helps the sellers get halfway moved.
It does, that
It's
halfway.
so overwhelming when it's moving day.
It's
You're
true.
trying to get them halfway moved, even psychologically.
And so much of that has already been done, it helps the stress on them.
It does.
Yeah, and so by going into their home as a professional and helping them get started, you really are benefiting them through this experience, and they will see value in that. So here's some examples of some very neutral, happy bedroom spaces. And I did wanted to point out that you can keep it you can have symmetry and keep it neutral and it works, or you can have a little more character. You don't have to be, you can have some pizzazz. For example, here's a taller lamp and then a smaller nightstand here. Like say this is a different room, like a guest room or something. It doesn't have to be, symmetrical on both sides, and then a little bit of personality is totally fine. I already said, I blew this screen because I already said, no gray, no gray. But there's so many things when it comes to the walls and getting our home or getting their home show ready. Like even just the switch plate covers. There's so many times they're cracked or they're chipped or something, or really grimy, right? And that's not that expensive, guys. That's an expense you can take on as a client, as for your clients, and gift it to them or suggest it to them, and they'll run down to Home Depot and get them. But a lot of times I have clients switch those out, and it makes a big difference. Just that new switch plate or the outlet covers. Light bulbs are another pet peeve of mine. I'm like, oh my gosh, you either live in the warm or, the LED world, but you don't do both, right? And then if they're out, like so many of our homes have, a dozen light bulbs that are burned out. Switch them out. Wash the windows inside and out before photos. Get those screens off or repair the screens. And then I always tell my clients, you want everything to function like you're moving into the space. If you know that bathroom drawer is broken, get it fixed. Yes, you've lived with it for 10 years like that, right? We always get the house nicer for the buyer than when we live in it. But get it so everything's functioning and working. Does anybody know the Sherwin-Williams paint color for 2024?
Evergreen
For fun. I did some research on that and I can't decide because I found Upward color of the year here, paint palette. So yes, I found that as well, but I think that this palette kind of shows, because there's a little bit of all of it there, right?
Hold on, we need a picture.
And then it's funny to me because there's gray in there, but it's blue. Like
Can you scoot for a second?
Yeah.
Thank you, dear.
There is still our ivory cream there, right? But I just,
like those colors.
but I mean, they're very happy, peaceful. Yeah.
I do have a paint color that I do not recommend from Sherwin-Williams.
Tell us so we know not to use it.
City Loft.
City Loft, what color is that?
It is kind of it's a neutral color. But it's a chameleon color, and so it does not look the same in every room.
Oh.
Okay,
And
good to know.
because we did our whole house in it.
What's it called?
City Loft.
City Loft.
Apparently we have an agent here who says no City Loft.
Well, we painted our entire house, and when I had the paint colors on the walls, it looked great. When I had the samples up, it looked great. And then when I painted the whole house, I'm like, no, it just does not work very well. Because in some areas, it looks completely white. In other areas, it pulls some gray in. And in other areas, it pulls some of the yellows in from the lighting or different things. And it just looks different kind of everywhere. And it's not one that I recommend.
And it's
I would
hard
love
when
to
you,
repaint my
when
entire
you
house.
paint your
with a
whole
different
house
color.
one color and it's not what you like. That's
Oh,
not a
that's
happy day.
For a smaller space, I think it would be great. but for the
See,
entire
we
house.
had a huge home, $2.5 million home in Draper that they painted that color.
And did it work?
And it was beautiful, but it was big and it had lots of windows and lights.
The lighting.
Yeah, I thought the lighting always makes a huge
Yeah,
difference.
my house has tons of, it just is not working in my house, and it's just a huge regret that I have that. I mean,
Well,
it
thanks
looks
for
okay,
letting
but
all of
to
us.
me, it's not.
Well, she needs a paint party where we all go.
Yeah, there you go.
And then also the evergreen fog.
Mhm.
I painted my doors, my exterior doors with the evergreen fog, which is a really popular.
That is a really popular paint color.
My exterior doors all looked a little bit bluish. Just the way that the light, the outside light hits the doors, it gives it almost a completely different color.
And see, and
is very
it says
interesting.
evergreen in the name of it, but it's more blue to me. It's more like the palette we just, it falls into
Yeah.
that palette we just looked at. It's more of a blue.
So
It
is
has
this
blue
red,
tints.
this before the,
So
or
this-
fuchsia?
This is, no, it was a fuchsia pink. It's for Valentine's Day.
I use this, but it's on the wall.
This was another agent's listing that I was hired to come in as a consultant and then help them stage it. So, and I do that. I can be the bad guy for you, and you can do this for each other too. Because then you're
That
just
was
this,
really
I'm
cool.
your agent, you know? And then I come in and I'm like, hi, my name's Kimberly, let's get to work. This paint color does not work. Let me suggest these, or this is too dirty, or whatever. I'm just the bad guy. I come in and say, you gotta get rid of all this furniture. Yes.
Then the agent
Bad
looks
cop,
good, it's like,
good cop.
that is nice.
So this is an example of a room, it's Valentine's Day, so I chose the pink one. It was hideous, right? So we got rid of the bulky furniture, even though this is a large room and it was a game room, we just opened it up,
It
right?
looks like a completely different.
Doesn't it? So they did, they got the fresh paint like I asked. They fixed the, I don't know if you noticed, but these didn't match. So I had them
Right.
switch these out and change that. And it's just,
Makes it all.
they got all that bulky furniture out. We had cute pillows here, like a playroom, and then you can't see the whole side here, but I mean, it looks like a different room, right?
Changing out the light fixtures makes a huge difference.
And,
So,
and changing that color just even makes the carpet look different.
right,
and
it's the
brighter.
same
And
carpet,
Oh, you're
but
right,
it doesn't look as dingy, right? Yeah, so I felt like this one was a really a good example.
Bigger the thing, the lighter the color.
Good suggestion. All right, bathrooms, we all know what we need to do with bathrooms. Shower doors that don't get scrubbed are a pet peeve of mine. I YouTube that stuff, like vinegar, whatever works, or hire a professional cleaner, but that's something that I think, I don't know how many of you guys run into that, but I run into it all the time where it's just a really, like, I don't want to touch it. I'm like this, opening the door so my buyer can see the inside. And then I think this kind of all goes without being said. You just want to make sure everything's working. There's no leaking pipes, all that kind of stuff. So,
I have a question.
yes,
Can you share these slides with us so we can share them with our sellers?
of course, if you, I guess, yeah. It's a lot of pressure, but sure. I mean, this is just me putting down from my years of experience and my thoughts. Like, it's just suggestions.
No, it's a lot of research and it helps, or you can just say, look what Kimberly did.
Whoever that lady is. We've had a lot of discussions in here about whether we leave toilet paper in our listings. So again, this is just real estate 101 by Kimberly, but they're gonna use the bathroom, guys. Someone's gonna have a toddler who's like dancing around and they can't wait. So how about we prepare the space? Because over the years, I've learned that's what I would rather do. So I provide toilet paper, especially if it's a vacant listing, and I encourage my seller. I'm like, you know what? There's a high probability that over the couple of months this home was listed, that there's gonna be one person or more that use a toilet. So let's make this half bath or something ready for them. And so especially in a vacant home though, I have the toilet paper, I have paper towels, and I have a waste basket so that they can wash their hands after, and soap too, like and hand sanitizer. To me, that's just me, because I've had too many experiences where I did not leave those items and then there was lots of drama
I've had
and
them
really
untake
gross
the toilet
cleanup.
on a winterized house and use it.
Now that's a different story. If it's a winterized home and you leave nice big fat signs that say do not use, right? There's a reason why this is not going to turn out good for you, right? So that's just my suggestion. Here's a couple of bathrooms once we've decluttered and picked up all the dirty clothes on the floor and gotten them ready for.
Where do you suggest people put like their laundry baskets or hampers when they're still living there, but for showings? Where can they like hide those?
That is a really good question. You'll laugh, but I have in homes where there's lots of laundry baskets or lots of children, I have put them for photos for sure in a bathtub and just pulled the curtain just a little bit and nobody sees it. You can still, so for photographs, I do that. And then even for showings, we've done that too, because they're going to open it and see it, but they'll laugh, right? I'd rather have them in a tub behind a shower curtain than like all over the kids' bedrooms or in their closets or whatever. Although if the closet is big, I don't see why you can't just tuck it in and have it be like under a rack of clothes or something. So those are the
people
places.
put like a blanket or a towel over it so people aren't seeing their dirty
Right.
underwear.
Right, and then tuck it under that hanging roll of clothes. You just take a nice towel or something and cover it, and then you're not looking at dirty clothes. But yeah, I think there's some ways that we can get creative and not have those dirty clothes be right there. So here's another before and after of a real laundry room I dealt with. And this was the before and after.
What did you do with all this stuff?
We just, we had to go through it. To be honest, they donated a lot of that. So it was the kind of thing where, we all live really busy lives and all of that stuff got piled up in there. And so she ended up buying more things, like more socks and things for her kids' underwear. And so while she was going through it, she's like, oh, he doesn't, my son doesn't even fit this size anymore. So that kind of thing, she ended up donating a lot of it. But
I have a listing.
Stay on top of your laundry.
That their house legit looks like all of your before pictures. What do I do with them? What do I say? Where do I put it?
We will pray for you.
That's how you bring Kimberly in, so that she can be the bad guy.
No,
I should,
seriously,
yeah, because with
see,
family,
bring
it's so
Kimberly in
hard.
and have her- Cause she'll just get right to business and then you're not offending, she can offend your family.
And we already did the initial walkthrough and I like had a mile-long list and they were so overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's, you know what, I don't know how some of our houses get so out of control because I just don't want to deal with that ever looking like that. So I make myself do certain things, which I'm about to get to that routine. So I hope we have enough time for that. But yeah, I wish you all the luck. Let me know how that goes. So these are some things we've already talked about, but clean shower curtains, update everything that you can that is broken or doesn't look good. And like the dried flowers that have collected dust, throw them out, get rid of them. And don't tell your clients to avoid cooking the smelly foods. That's another thing besides the pets and other things we've talked about. It can be really strong. I give them gift cards too. I'll say, hey, why don't you guys go out and this, especially that first couple weeks you're on the market, let's just keep it smelling clean once we've had professional cleaners come and we've done all this work. Let's keep it clean.
Do you pay for their pets to like go to the groomer or something like that?
I have only done that for one client. So I think I look at all the needs of that one client, that specific listing, and I balance out what's most important to me that I think will help the house sell. And I will often gift some of that to them as part of their closing gift. And then ask them if they would take on the rest. That's just how I approach it. So I think sometimes if you're showing you're willing to gift something, that also somehow loosens their pocket and they're willing to help too.
Or I'll send it to their pets to the groomer because it's their fur baby.
Yeah.
And then I say, could you please take your pet on a walk? So it's not barking and yipping and yapping when. I love it. And people are thrilled.
Yeah, they love it. They love anything free, right? Who doesn't, right? So here's some examples of symmetry. It works. You can't go wrong using symmetry, like having the same things balance out on either side, same pillows, same chairs. Can't go wrong with it every time. And I'm showing you lots of different styles too, different colors. But if you have two things that balance each other on the side, it's pleasing to the eye. So when we're standing outside of the property too, we need to talk to our clients about the outside of their house. Sometimes you need to get a dumpster ordered to their yard. I have paid for that. I've done that. It is freeing. They open windows and chuck stuff into the dumpster. So it depends if you're dealing with a hoarder. It's always a necessary thing. Not necessary on a normal listing, but it's pretty helpful if you need it. And then talk to them about all the things. If they need to spray wash the exterior, maybe that exterior needs fresh paint. So discuss everything with them. I like to provide when I stage or a client, I like to provide a fresh doormat because I think it's nice to have something new to welcome a buyer as they come in to the home. And then fresh flowers and greenery is always a good idea too. So we're going for a happy, like, oh, I want to go inside that house. That's my dream house. I can't wait to see it. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on virtual staging, but I did want to bring it up. So there's pros and cons. Buyers will first see the house online with the furniture, but then when they're at the property, it looks different because it's vacant. There's no furniture where they thought there would be furniture, especially if you don't tell them it's virtually staged, and then they get to the house, it throws buyers sometimes. And sometimes it makes the house look better than it really is, which that's why we do it, right?
Building the little.
Also, it misleads buyers to think that maybe certain pieces of the furniture will fit because they're like, well, there's sofa there. And it's like some little tiny modern thing that has 2 cushions, right? And their sectional is not going to fit there. But there are reasons to use it. It's very popular because we know that buyers start and almost do a majority of their buying online now. My first deal I closed in January shocked me. They were referrals from my husband, who's a police officer. So it was some police officers buying. They're young, first-time home buyers. They have been looking online for years, going through all the tours of homes, houses. They found this one and they texted me. I met them there. We walked through it. They loved it. They wanted it. I'm like, would you like to see any other houses? I can show you this one down the street. That's very comparable, similar floor plans, similar price point. Would you like to see new construction to compare so you can see what your money can buy in this market? Nope, they want that house. It had the yard they needed for their dogs. It had the kitchen that she's always dreamed of. I was like, okay, this is cool, but also a little crazy. So it just reminded me how important our online presence is because that's how they've been shopping. They're so busy, their schedules don't match up that they had made a list of what they wanted in a house until they found it. So there are some pros to jumping on there and getting virtual staging if you can't afford if like your seller can't afford or doesn't want to do the physical staging. It does cost less. You take pictures and upload them, and then you pay somebody to do the rest of the work. So it's easier than hauling furniture over to the house, which is a lot of what I do. The virtual staging is also 360 degrees, so it shows them, the whole entire room. So that's a plus. And it also hides unwanted objects, like if the home isn't vacant, if somebody's still living in it. You can take past listing photos, with permission, of course, with a vacant home and use those, or push furniture aside, right? And take a picture of the space when it's empty enough so that you have what you need. So there are some pros, there are some reasons to do it, and then I say there's reasons not to. So you just kind of have to decide with your client what's the best situation to do. They can also stand in that vacant space and pull up a picture, right? And be like, oh, okay, this is what I remember seeing online. This kind of talks you through what you would do. You guys know how, or if you haven't, you follow the instructions on the website, but you upload the picture you take. There's a couple day turnaround, and you're gonna spend like $35 to $55-ish per room. And I have a bunch of suggestions of places that you can go to do that. And I'm sure this is being recorded, so you guys are gonna be able to see those again. Okay, this is my little gift to you. I don't know if you feel like I do, but I never have enough time. I have the same 24 hours in a day that you do, but like it's never enough to get all the things done that I want to for my family and for my real estate business and my staging clients, my organizing clients. So this is my gift to you. This is something that I have incorporated in my own personal life, try to teach my kids, and also I will share with clients while I'm walking through their home. I do the whole, trying to set the stage that while we're selling your home, it's going to be very different than living in it, right? So let me give you some tips of some things that you can do that are going to.
Kimberly,
yes. You don't want me in there? Fine. I'm just kidding.
You step back, stick your head like
yeah, you have to point out.
I'm totally teasing you.
hands up like this.
You're like,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm gonna just tell you really quick because this is like when I get really passionate about it. So 1 minute rule. If something takes less than a minute to do, well, for heaven's sakes, do it. So like if you just finish your oatmeal, Don't sit it on the counter and run out the door and leave. Put it in the sink and fill it with water so that it soaks, so it's not sticky and gross and dry, and you can come home and load the dishes later. So you get that Amazon package, you're so excited, and you break open the box, and you leave it right there on the kitchen counter, right? So break the Amazon box down, put it in recycling, throw away the trash. Number 2, never leave a room empty-handed. So just think about how your homes function. You're getting up from the TV, everybody's done watching a movie. You have popcorn on the floor, you have cups from your soda and your candy and everything, and there's blankets on the floor from the kids snuggling. And so if you're gonna all get up and leave the room, don't leave empty-handed. Take the dishes to the sink, pick the popcorn up, right? Fold up the blanket, take the blanket back to where you keep the blanket. You can control clutter so much by taking those things where it belongs, because you're headed that way anyway. You were gonna go to the kitchen to get a drink of water anyway, right? And that leads me to 3. So sort through your mail when it's in your hands is just one suggestion. My biggest thing, and I should have put there for number 3, is to put like things together. That's what I forgot to type there. So in our homes, if you walk in the door with your mail every day, I love mail. I love sending cards and getting cards. That's never been a hard part for me with real estate because I love getting mail. But how much of us love the junk mail? Nobody, right? So when it's in your hand, I take it and put it in the trash. Get rid of all the junk mail. That's where a lot of the hoarders and the paperwork that piles up in kitchens we're trying to sell, that's where it comes from. It's just nonsense. It's trash. So when it's in your hand, sort it. Have a place to put it, like things together, where your bills go or your personal things that you're happy to get. Have a place to set them, a basket, a folder, a file place that you can put them. And guess what? Surprise, it'll be there when you need it because you know where you put it too. That's the other thing. We're not wasting time trying to find it. So like things together and do it when it's in your hand. The 4th one is to take a picture and toss. So with so many things, it can be that invitation that you were given, right? Take a picture. If you don't want to hang it up or display it or try and remember where it is so you know where that wedding reception is later, you have it. It's in your phone, or there's apps you can scan to file that stuff away, and then you're having less paperwork all over the place or late to the reception because you can't find the address, you can't find that darn invitation, right?
I do that with my kids' stuff too.
Yes, I was just going to get to that.
And homework and the things I get from school, I'll take a picture and then recycle it.
Oh.
Such a good idea, right? And there was this one picture, I couldn't find it. We were out of town last weekend, so I was looking for it, and I bet I'll find it this afternoon. But there was this awesome picture I wanted to show you guys. It was like a kitchen next to the fridge, and somebody had created a cabinet that opened, and it was like home central right there. They had like a family calendar. They had this shelf where they had charged all the kids' iPads and phones, and that's where they lived at night. So I like that. We used to take our kids' phones away too at night. So I love that it had a charging station, and then there would each kid had like a folder for school, or like if they needed, science project due or whatever, they had all these, and I just love that. I love that idea.
Oh, we need a picture of that.
I know. I will
Delicious.
find it because I wish I had that. I hadn't seen it. My kids are grown now, but I liked how you could close the cabinet on it in case your family over or you didn't want someone else to see those things, but then you just quickly open it and it's like there. So I'll find that picture.
Yes,
it's awesome.
That's our Valentine's present.
And then
just for my house, it doesn't have any kids,
just to have a
we
place.
can have it.
Yeah.
This is our
This
life
is home
space.
central right here, right? Where everything goes. And then also, how many times do we get cute little pictures from our kids or our grandbabies? And there's so many of them, right? They color every day, all the day, or at home they bring artwork home. And so I love to take pictures with them, holding it or something like that. And it doesn't have to go in the fridge because I can hang it in the garage or I can toss it because I have the picture, right? So a lot of the times I'll tell clients, because some of them, they have a lot of that stuff and it's very important to the child and I don't want to mess with that. That's super,
Right.
That's not anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. So I try and suggest, well, let's make a space in the garage maybe so they can still see it when they get in the car every day. But then eventually they'll move on and something else will be more important. So take a picture of them smiling and holding it, and then eventually it can be tossed.
And they say, you don't want it on the refrigerator? And I say, I want it in the garage so when we pull in, we can see it as we're entering the house.
Then they'll buy into
And
it
they buy into it.
every time.
Yes, that's exactly, and then they're like, oh, okay.
Tidy up during your downtime.
Downtime?
I know you think that word is funny. I know, so
Downtime.
let me explain. So while you're making your lunch and you put it in the microwave, you gotta nuke it for a couple minutes. A lot of people, what you do, you just pick up your phone and you lean up against the counter, right?
Yeah.
No, no, no. What I'm saying is use that time to clean out the junk drawer. Or unload the dishwasher, or sweep the floor. Like how many of us wait on our spouses sometimes? Okay, most of the time they're waiting on us, all right? But like if you're waiting for somebody to pick you up or waiting to do something, just catch yourself. How many times do you reach your phone and go to social media instead of just getting the task done that you know you're gonna have to do before you go to bed, or you know you're gonna have to do it before your mother-in-law comes over or whatever, right? So just use those minutes, because those minutes, ladies and gentlemen, add up to extra time. Wake and make your bed. We've heard this before in this very room. The Admiral McRaven, author of Make Your Bed, Little Things Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World, I think is the title of the book. Love it. And I'm not perfect at it, but I love to make my bed. I believe what his message says, because if we can do that one little thing every day, then we can do lots of other little things throughout the day. And there are people that struggle with depression and seasonal depression. It's a real thing. So if you can get up and actually put clothes on, right, and cleanse yourself and make your bed, like, we are winning, right? It's a good day. So I think there's
the name of the author?
It's his last name is McRaven, McRaven. He was like a Navy admiral.
It's gonna be so silly, you're gonna want to reject it, but I've done it. And even with winter depression or season, or you're upset, or it's just incredible. You're like,
oh, I am a believer.
And you come home, you're like, someone made my bed.
And guess what? Why would you tell a client that? Because you want their bed made when they have a showing. I probably am a very unusual agent, but I've made so many beds.
You do?
If I know an agent, a lot of single people don't make their beds. And if I know that agent's habits and they're not doing what I've suggested, because a lot of times I have a lot of suggestions, I will run over if I am able and vacuum or make a bed or something, because I'm doing my best. I'm going to do my best for them. But that's, you decide your boundaries or whatever. But I try and obviously teach them the importance of doing it themselves.
Well, I showed a house, 10,000 square feet, 10 bedrooms, and every one of them, none of the beds were made. It looked terrible.
Okay, you might need to call us to help you then, because that's a lot of beds to me.
I don't know if I'd run there an hour.
We do what we can, right? But also you can share these things with them and say, look, we're in this together. Let's work as a team to get this house ready for you to show. All right, 7 chores in order. This is just muscle memory. I just have clients who get overwhelmed. They're like sitting at their kitchen table and they're bawling because they're like, this is too much work. I can't do it by myself, and for whatever reason, right? And so I just try and suggest different ways that they can look at it, different perspective, and turn on some tunes and clean. And if you do it in your own home also in the same order, it's just muscle memory. Like, one thing I recommend to clients is to start up high. So you're in the kitchen, you start with the cabinets, you dust up high, you work your way down, do the countertops, and then wipe the front of your cabinets and the sink out, and then do your floors. So you start from top to bottom. It's like a way to take the first bite out of a really hard thing. So it's just something that's really worked for people, to start at the top and move your way down when you're cleaning. Another example of that is every night, especially when someone's getting ready to list their home, turn the dishwasher on at night. When you have 5 children, you need to get all of that stuff off the counters, right? In case you have a showing and everybody has to get up and leave and go to school and work. So, and then in the morning, get in the muscle memory of unloading the dishwasher. And then you're ready for mealtime that night.
You teach men.
I've taught a lot of classes and worked with all kinds of people. All kinds of people. People, male or female, have to want to change.
Is that you can go in and suggest all these things.
Yep.
And like you said, people get overwhelmed, so they just don't do it.
It's 100% true.
Yeah.
And that I spend a lot of time breaking things down kindergarten style. And I give them one thing. I'm like, can you do this one thing for me? And I'm going to come back next week and check in on you.
Well, I was shocked at a client that dirty clutter felt comfortable to her.
That's
like-
how hoarders are, or people that live in that's their space and they get used to it. It is comfortable to them. It's mental, it's psychological. Yeah, it's something that I have a lot of compassion for people like that, because it's not a healthy place to be in all levels, right? In all ways. 8 and 9 are just quick. If you clean out the fridge once a week and your pantry, there's stuff that grows in there, get rid of it, right? So it just cracks me up when you go in to look at a house and you open that fridge and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like there's stuff from a year ago Christmas, right? You're gonna see the jello mold in the back corner. So yeah, just once a week, clean that out.
And Chrissy, when you visit family, just bring a rag and clean their.
Just say, excuse me, I need to
Mine
take
is
her.
like going to visit family and all their bottles are sticky. It's just a huge pet peeve. I'm like, just get a clean rag and just clean.
Oh, but then that rag, that's my pet peeve. Like the dish towels that people have, like they've had since college or whatever. So when we're packing, I'm always like, can you please, let's throw all those towels away. And as a matter of fact, this is kind of one of my things. I've told you guys this before, but every time I meet a person for the first time, I give them a dish towel. And that's one of the reasons I do. Because if I list their house, I'm like, hey, you can hang that in your kitchen. It's clean. It'll look really good. It'll look really good in the photos. Hint, hint.
So bring new towels when you go stay at people's houses.
It's one of my pet peeves.
I'm gonna use them and then you can keep them.
They're gross towels, right? So nobody wants that. Nobody wants those. Okay, so we talked about wiping down the bathrooms. Okay, so the drop zone at the door. Shoes off at a door helps keep the carpet clean and the flooring clean, but not everybody can do that. And that's one that I've allowed my husband to break. He's a police officer in the military, and you don't want to have to ask him to take those boots off every single time he walks in the house. So I have hardwood flooring that I've made accessible throughout the house so that if he's in his shoes, I'm not freaking out, right? So there are ways to work around that, but we have clients who that's how they live. You take your shoes off, whether it's a religious thing or wherever their background, but it's kind of a cool way to keep homes clean. Although I would tell you, walking in bare feet does not, like you have oils on the bottom of your feet, so put on slippers or something. Don't just walk on your carpet with bare feet and think, oh, my floors are so clean. What else did I want to share? Oh, that drop zone is huge. Like if you have, I can't think of what it's called. When you come in the garage, a mud room, or a space that you can create a mud room out of, it's just so helpful with kids. We all know that, right? Backpacks, coats, all things that come in, especially during the winter. There's so much more. And as adults too, have a place where you set your work bag, your backpack, where you get rid of your sunglasses, your wallet, your keys. And you might think this is so simple, but how many times are you rushing out the door and you can't find your wallet? How many times, to my sweetheart, my wonderful husband, do I take his wallet to him? Because it's not where, I'm like, honey, this is for your wallet right here. This little space is for your sunglasses, right? So if you just always, it's like magic to me though. I'm sorry, but if I come home and I put my phone and my purse and my stuff on that little place, it's just there. I know it's there. So
They put it in different places?
it's magic. So have a place to put it. I know you don't know what I'm talking about. All right, I'm only down to a few more. So stick to a schedule. So this is as far as like maintaining the house, right? If you're in a house for 20 years, we've walked through them. They have so much stuff, right? Because they've lived in that house for so long. But if they have a schedule where they're constantly purging things that they're not using anymore, clothes that don't fit, then that home can have a lot more peace and order in it and be a lot easier for them when they move, because most people will eventually move, whether they want to or not. If they prepare years ahead, I know that sounds crazy. Wait, I have to think about moving and I just moved in, right? But if you have that schedule and maintenance that you keep up, you are just gifting that to yourself later on. It's going to make a huge difference. So my mom taught me so well to do that. She's constantly reorganizing, purging things, and I think that's where I got a lot of it from. So thanks, Mom. Shout out to you. All right, and then my last one is truly a gift for me because I have shared this with so many people over the years. Every night, no matter how old your kids are, or if you don't have kids at your house, it's just you and your spouse, or even if it's just you by yourself, you give yourself 15 to 20 minutes a day to participate in a nightly cleanup. And so I teach clients, okay, tell me about your nighttime routine. How do you tuck in your kids? And so they'll tell me, oh, we sing a song, we brush our teeth, you know, we go to, and so they tell me about it. And I'm like, well, we are going to tuck in your house just like you tuck in your kids. And this will help you be ready for the next day in case you have a showing. And so they love it. They turn on, some of them will text me and be like, we just picked a song. This is gonna be our family song that we cling to every night. And they'll play the song and then everybody stops. They have to put their phones in a basket or nobody's allowed, you know, to be on social media or watching TV. And everybody dials in and you pick up all the dirty dishes, you put the pillows back where they're supposed to be on the sofa, you know, you load the dishwasher, whatever it looks like to you, you're tucking in the house before you tuck in yourself or your children. So this has been really valuable for me as I've worked with organizing clients over the years and now as I got into the real estate industry to help people maintain the house so it's ready to show. So happy Valentine's Day. There's my love for you that I'm sharing with you. And my last thought is to do what you love. So I have so many people ask me, well, Kimberly, how can I do what you do? Like I want to organize, or I want to stage, or where did you go to school? Where did you learn all this? And my best piece of advice is to tell you to just take every opportunity that you have to meet new people and to have different experiences, because there's no way as a 20-year-old college student would I have been able to know or plan where I am today. There's no way, because I didn't know that every little job I took cleaning when I was in college led me to being Stephen R. Covey and Sandra's Covey in their home. He's the author of 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. He's passed away. But being in their home and learning from them and then realizing, oh, I have these organizational skills, I'm going to grow them. I'm going to grow my own business. I'm going to form an LLC. Or to know that then I was working for different companies that gave me real estate opportunities and training that then led me into getting my real estate license. Because if I'm going to organize someone's house and make it look pretty, an agent would waltz on in and put their sign in the yard. And I was like, no way. I'm the one that did that work. I'm going to go get my real estate license. So there's no way that I can tell you, oh, we'll do these steps, right? And it'll get you to, all I can tell you is to be passionate about something, whether it's land surveying or taking pictures of the properties, or maybe you're really good at paperwork, you know, and you could be a TC for other agents too. I just had a new agent call me yesterday. I have no idea how he found my number, or he's from a different brokerage, and he's had one deal and he's new. And he's like, I've been in it for a year. I want to know how to get more deals. And I was like, who is this person? Like, but I had a really nice conversation with him, and I took a minute from my busy day, because experience has taught me that if I'm willing to give a little bit, then the universe is going to toss it right back at me. So I just say, find something that you're really passionate about, and maybe it's your routine, how you get up in the morning and you have meaningful, mindful time, and then you jump out and you get all the things done on your to-do list, and you drop off to your past clients, and you pass a nice little note in the mail to people that you haven't seen for a while, like all the things that we've been taught to do. Stay committed to it and find your passion and do what you love, and I promise you'll be successful in your own way and time. There you have it. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions? Yes, please.
In this house that I'm getting ready to list, like when you walk up to the front door, I think that the steps have sank a bit, because that last step, I'm 5'4", so I'm not super short, but I'm not tall. There's going to be all other heights of people walking in and out. That last step, you have to like really get your foot up and push yourself up. So that's like a big thing right at the beginning.
That is good, right? And that's as they're entering the home. That's going to hit them and be like, oh, this is.
And then maybe the foundation.
What's the age of the home?
2001.
Okay. I haven't seen it, but the very first thing that I would look into doing personally, and please everybody else comment as well, but I've had a lot of success dealing with just one piece of sidewalk or piece of driveway or one step going out to a house, having a concrete filler company come in, and they put holes in it. It's a couple $100 depending upon the size of the concrete and stuff, and they pump concrete under it and it lifts the step up. To me, that's worth every
If you
penny.
walk up the sidewalk to the.
Right, and I can't see it, so,
It's that, it's
But
like,
that's gonna
But
be
if
right
it's
off-
normal
right
steps
off
and then
the bat.
the
Yeah.
last step is like, so it's like the steps of steps.
yeah, it sounds like
It
the
doesn't
steps
feel
of
like
some.
the sidewalk, it just feels like from that last.
Yes.
It's not like a double step, it's like.
You would have to have a professional, obviously, because I'm not a cement professional, but I rely on them. And in the past, many properties, I've had them help me prepare very similar, fix very similar problems. One of the times they had to also add additional soil under the concrete too. So that's just from my experience. I don't know if anybody else,
Yes. I've had the
but
same
I would call a
My
concrete.
husband's cousin does cement, and all they do is drill a little hole and pump in cement, and it lifts, what is it, like 4 steps?
Well, it just needs to be lifted like a half a step up.
Well, it
But
probably
just like
lifts
that
the
half
other
step
ones.
with.
I would imagine they would have to address all the steps, but I would reach out to one of those companies.
And they'll pump it under the bottom step and just lift it up.
And also this kitchen is shockingly small.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out how to.
Does it have a pantry or no?
I don't remember it having a pantry.
Okay.
It's just like you walk in and it's like literally the stove is at the end and that's the width of the kitchen.
Oh, that is
So
tiny.
it's like the stove will open this way
Okay.
where, you know, and when you close the stove, you can open these cupboards. Sink is here and then the dishwasher's here and then here's the, like, just the regular 3-foot door.
Okay, obviously I haven't seen it, so I'm like,
Yeah. No, it's
but
tiny, like it makes my trailer.
does the home have a designated dining room space?
Yes, it's just outside, like, so it's got the dining area, it's got, you know, sliding glass door right there. And then it's just from the dining area, it's just like a regular doorway.
Could you put like a cabinet from IKEA or Home Depot in the dining, around the corner in the dining room, kind of to serve as a buffet or a pantry type situation? Could you do that?
Probably.
Because that's probably the first thing I would look into doing. I mean, not seeing the property, I'm really,
Take the emphasis off. like,
Yeah.
No,
He-
nothing on the
They're going through a
counter.
divorce, and so he was originally had taken the wall down so he could open it up and extend the counter out. He even said that he hates his kitchen.
Right.
But then when she filed for divorce, I'm like, all right, put the wall back up, instead of finishing that.
and it's hard. Like, I feel like a lot of, I don't know why, but I've had a lot of divorce situations where it's just like, they tell you straight up front, money's tight, don't expect a lot out of me type thing, right?
Yeah.
So you really are being as creative as you can, but there's a couple things that are possible. One deal that I just did, my staging fee as well as some of the repairs we did ended up having to come out and title company paid them at escrow. Like it happened after the home was closed. So you can arrange to do things like that. You just have to have, you have somebody come in, say, for example, he had a contractor lined up, or you can get one who's gonna knock the wall down. That is a conversation worth having. I don't know the price point of the home, but
Yeah.
is it,
He's a big do-it-yourselfer, so he doesn't want.
right, so if he wants to put that wall back up, then
He did put it back up.
there you go.
I
So
wish he
then,
would've left it down, though.
Yeah.
I just put it
because I was
down.
gonna say, it might be better to have it be down, and then somebody can come in and take the project from there too.
Yeah.
That's another thing, is just say, hey, we started a project, how many times have we walked into basements that aren't finished, right? That they've started, and all the drywall is like leaned up against the wall. So there are times where I'm like, hey, this has great potential. The homeowner, their situation changed and they weren't able to finish the project, but this is what, I'll even include a drawing, and say, this is what the rendering was of what the potential space was going to be. So that's a conversation worth having, I think, that I would have with a buyer's agent too. If you have an interested buyer and they're like, oh my gosh, that kitchen's deal breaker, I would open up that dialogue and tell them, say, my seller, that's interesting. My seller had the same thoughts and they were gonna pursue this if their circumstances hadn't changed. So I would just make a little note in your file and remind yourself to share that with the new buyer if you find one that's interested, because I think that's always helpful. They're gonna have their own ideas too, but it's nice to know that somebody else started those projects. And then if the wall is already back up, I would recommend some type of a cabinet. And you can, put a couple boxes of cereal in there or show that that's being used as a pantry or an extra space for the appliance garage or whatever. I guess that's where I would start.
Pizza and a dozen donuts to motivate. Just like, here's the pizza.
He's only, he's only at the house like 3 days a week because the kids stay there and then he goes to his mom's house while she's there. and then she goes to her mom's.
I would definitely market it, letting them know that that wall could come down.
That would make all the difference.
It depends who the buyer is. It might be perfect bachelor pad for somebody else.
Right, yeah, someone who doesn't care.
Yeah,
Just
I mean, cause it's legit, like, probably,
It's called, that's called.
it's not even
Yeah.
long enough to be.
Oh.
Okay.
It's not.
Thank you so much. Kate.
You're welcome.
What is your consulting fee? Do we want to hire you?
I do a walkthrough, like being the bad cop, for $250. And it usually ends up being a couple hours. So that's something that I do. If I do staging, then I would just want you to text me, reach out to me based upon the square footage of the house and the location and that type of thing.
Awesome.
And do you do
Happy to
a list, like you hand them an actual list, this is what?
I typically email it.
Okay.
So I'll take notes while I'm there,
Uh-huh.
and then I typically will go home and email it to them so that they have it to
So
refer
it's
back to.
concrete, they have a list.
And we do have, I mean, Presidio has that one, that's a checklist of things that they can do, but I also just get really specific. I'm like, that bathroom closet, do this, this, and this, or that type of thing. And I'll even suggest places that they can buy containers or things like if we need to containerize things in baskets that will hide clutter type thing, you know, because we still have, a lot of people still have to live in their houses, but we want to teach them how to do it so it's not cluttery. So
Or
yeah,
like Chrissy bring you in so that she can maintain her family relationships, and then you're the bad cop and they got
Yeah.
this, and everyone wins in the house sells.
yeah, I never saw myself doing that, but that is exactly, I've done a lot of that for clients with, agents in Presidio and outside of Presidio.
Yeah.
Anything you need, I'm happy to help. Any other questions?
Do you have,
Just isn't motivated.
do you have suggestions for like staging? I have a big
Oh.
home that I'm really like doing some staging for.
Uh-huh,
Do you have suggestions for stagers?
yes, so like that will do full vacant homes?
Yeah.
So you want just somebody that would come in and do all of it? Yes, I can. I used to do that for builders, and I don't do it anymore because. Yeah. So I do the light staging. So I was just telling them,